Okay, so let's get straight into it. I mean, you guys have probably read the title of the video and you probably know what it's about, so there's no need for an intro here. And I guess let's start with the game itself, and let's start with the goal. And it was coming off of a back of a lot of Mallorca pressure. Mallorca were putting a lot of pressure on us, and it didn't look like we could handle it. It didn't look like we could handle it at the time. And we really did struggle. We were getting pressed, and we kept losing the ball in stupid positions. And the pitch, it was very, very small. It was very narrow, I should say, and as a result, there wasn't much space for us on the wide. There wasn't many outlets out wide, and we were ultimately funneled through the middle. And it did limit us in the early parts of the game in terms of our passing ability. We just couldn't get forward because we couldn't get out wide and we couldn't play through. And ultimately, we were just being put through the middle, funneled through the middle, and Mallorca would just sweep us up in the middle. And Mallorca did well with that. And ultimately, it should have been spotted by Real Madrid how Mallorca would get that goal, which was a long ball over the top to Muriqi, and Muriqi would just head it down, get out wide, and then it's a simple error made by Dani Carvajal to let him put a simple ball in back into Muriqi into the box. When you're playing against Mallorca, they have one danger, which is their aerial ability. That's their only danger that they have. The rest of their team, they can't really build up. They can't really do anything else, but they can score headers. Muriqi can score headers, and one thing we should have just pointed out before the game: do not allow them to put crosses in. Yet Carvajal allowed him to put a simple cross into the box. It was contested, but Nacho was the one who got the last flick. And it looped over Lunin, and Lunin couldn't really do anything. You don't blame Lunin for that, because it ultimately, Courtois wouldn't have saved that. I don't think Courtois would have saved that, and that's how Mallorca got their goal. And beyond that point, it was just, well, we knew what Mallorca were going to do, which was sit back, defend for their lives, and Real Madrid from that point on, just nothing. There was nothing. We didn't offer anything in attack, and we had one shot on target the whole game, and that was the penalty which Marco Asensio missed. And that was it. It was a game of nothingness from Real Madrid, and really there was just nothing from anyone. Any attacker on this pitch, there was nothing from them. Vinicius, he really didn't do much. He kept getting fouled the whole game. Rodrigo didn't get involved in the link-up at all, but wouldn't get in behind either, so didn't do much. Asensio didn't really look off of it, and ultimately he missed a pen, and that could have got us a point here, which ultimately we would have taken in the end, but it still wouldn't have felt good. And as a result, that's 3 points lost. 3 points lost against Mallorca, which we shouldn't have. Before a trip to Morocco, where we were playing the Club World Cup, and I can't say anything less, because that was the game. I can go into individual performances, I can talk about individual errors, individual mistakes, individual lack of creativity, but ultimately that is the summary of the game. Defensively, one error from Carvajal, one lack of one moment of no intensity from Carvajal cost us a goal. And the fact is, it's really telling that Mallorca won this game with no shots on target. They didn't win this game with a shot on target. And ultimately, you can say, okay, that Real Madrid should have avoided that. Real Madrid shouldn't have lost to a team that hadn't even conceded. But ultimately, we should have scored two. It's Real Madrid. Like this, we should be able to go to Mallorca and score 2 goals. That's not too much to ask. Many teams already this season have done that, and yet we still couldn't manage. We couldn't manage. There was nothing there from Real Madrid. So, I mean, let's talk about a few individual performances. I mean, Dani Carvajal, we've already talked about the defensive one error he made. But going forward, he offered nothing as well. The minimum you could ask from Dani Carvajal in this game, there was no the pitch was very narrow, therefore you have to go to the end of the pitch and cut it back. That's the minimum, but Carvajal just didn't have the legs to do that. And this is going to be a theme, which is we said no to João Cancelo a couple of days ago on deadline day, when Bayern Munich took that opportunity. João Cancelo came to Real Madrid first and said, "Do you want to sign João Cancelo on a loan deal from Man City?" I am lost for words, because Jose Angel Sanchez, who is the director of the club, he said he just turned it down. No problems. And I really do not understand what game they are watching, what game Florentino Perez is watching, what game Jose Angel Sanchez is watching, compared to us, the fans, because clearly they're watching a different game. Clearly they're watching 16-17 Dani Carvajal, and they're watching that Lucas Vázquez from the 2021 season, because I really do not understand how they can look at our right-back situation and say no to João Cancelo, who ultimately in this game, João Cancelo would have been as good as you could have asked for it. You know, João Cancelo would have got to the end of that pitch. He would have created chances which Dani Carvajal could never dream of in his prime. You know, João Cancelo's creative ability is just top tier, a top echelon, and yet we just said no. We just refused, and I really don't understand what was the downside. What's the downside to bringing João Cancelo? Yeah, he's got a few attitude issues. That's been pointed out in the last few meetings with Man City and with Portugal. Oh, but that was over playing time. And if you believe that Carlo Ancelotti would really refuse to play João Cancelo over Dani Carvajal or Lucas Vázquez, then you're out of your mind, because there is absolutely no way João Cancelo would be dropped. He would be an undisputed starter at right back for Real Madrid, and yet we just said no. The wage issues? Is there wage issues? I mean, you look at some of the players we're going to be shifting this summer. You know, the deadwood we should be shifting this summer. Mariano should be going. Hazard should be going. Those two automatically, Hazard on 500k per week, Mariano on 200k per week. That's 700 off the books. You think João Cancelo's earning 200k a week? That's fine. You directly get rid of Mariano, you bring in João Cancelo, so wages shouldn't be a problem. And ultimately, João Cancelo would win us 3 points in this game. He wins us 3 points in this game. I believe that. I believe that he would win us many points in a season, and yet we just said no. And I think that is the brutality of it, and it's not just in that position. We can point out, because I was reading this morning on Twitter, and I was just looking on what Real Madrid were planning this summer. They had a meeting. The board had a meeting on what they were planning this summer, and ultimately they were planning two things only this summer. Fran Garcia, which has already been decided. Fran Garcia is going to be joining us next summer as the backup left back, and Jude Bellingham. Those are the only two things that the board are doing next summer. They said we should be okay with the current crop we've got, and the attackers, we've got a good front three. I don't know why we would complain. Surely, right? Well, that's very incorrect. That is very incorrect. I mean, in terms of the left back situation, Follow Mendy's out for 2 months, and you knew this in the transfer window. You could have just bought Fran Garcia in immediately, and you play Fran Garcia left back. That frees up Camavinga for the midfield. And Camavinga in midfield in this game would have been invaluable. It would have been so good for us from the beginning. Yet he was put at left back because we don't have a viable alternative. And that's the point. We don't make the cutthroat decisions that we used to. I don't understand what's changed for Florentino Perez, but we don't make the cutthroat decisions that we used to. And then you look at the front three. Without Benzema, there's really nothing. There was really nothing in that attack. They were struggling to create chances. They were struggling to bring down the ball, trying to put crosses in for no one to Rodrigo. Rodrigo's a great player. I love Rodrigo, but he's just not a striker. He's not a striker. In some games he's useful, but not in these La Liga games where you ultimately need an out-and-out number 9. You cannot play Rodrigo up front. It's just not possible. I really don't like it. I don't want that to be the thing. And yet we're looking at it and we're saying Carlo Ancelotti out. Carlo Ancelotti out. Yet Carlo Ancelotti doesn't have a viable alternative. You tell Carlo Ancelotti, who can you play up front other than Benzema? You're looking at Eden Hazard, Rodrigo, Asensio. 3 players who are not exactly, they're not strikers, they're wingers. And then you look at the other alternatives. You got Mariano, who, let's be honest, is horrible. He's horrible. And you look elsewhere. Well, down in Castilla, you got Alvaro Rodriguez. He's not going to trust him immediately. Maybe that's a little bit of his own fault. And then Iker Bravo, who hasn't been great so far this season for Castilla either. So there's really nothing. Last week we talked about some transfers and we looked at Marcus Thuram. Marcus Thuram would have made a difference in this game. And just having that aggressive striker up top would have made such a difference. Marcus Thuram would have been fantastic. Yeah, the board wouldn't make that decision to buy Marcus Thuram for 15 million. No, they just wouldn't make that decision. And that's going to cost us a lot of points this season, and that's cost us 3 points here. There's no doubts about that, in my opinion. Furthermore, I saw this morning Jude Bellingham. There are no alternatives for Jude Bellingham. They have not planned any alternatives for Jude Bellingham. Enzo Fernandez was the only alternative that the board had thought of. And the other alternative was Manuel Locatelli, but Locatelli is not going to move from Juve. So Enzo's obviously gone to Chelsea, and Locatelli's not moving from Juve. So it's Jude Bellingham or nothing. And I genuinely fear that there is a situation next summer where Real Madrid go for next summer and we fail on Bellingham to either Liverpool or Man City. I think more likely to be Man City than Liverpool, to be totally honest. We fail on Bellingham and we just go for Fran Garcia. That genuinely frightens me. Next summer, going up against Barcelona, and let's be honest, look at Barcelona. They're not better than Real Madrid. They're not better than Real Madrid. They've definitely they've played better than Real Madrid. They've been better than Real Madrid. They've been more consistent than Real Madrid. They've grinded out points more than Real Madrid, but they're not a better team than Real Madrid. It's not. I don't think you can say that they have been a better team than Real Madrid. They have a better team than Real Madrid. They haven't. It's just simply not true. They have not got a better team than Real Madrid. And that was proved last season. Last season, I think it was the best and the worst thing that could have happened to Real Madrid at the time, because it definitely painted over the cracks that Real Madrid had at the club. Because that Champions League win, although it was fantastic and you could never complain about a Champions League win because it was the best Champions League win anyone could ask for. That was the best run anyone could ask for. But the problem is, it painted over the cracks. That final performance from Dani Carvajal, it bought him 2 more years at the club. It brought him 2 more years at the club, which he didn't deserve up until that point. I remember crying out loud for Dani Carvajal last season to get him out, because he was that bad last season. Yet in that final, he pocketed Luis Diaz, who was absolutely brilliant up until that point. He pocketed Luis Diaz, and suddenly, the club trusts Dani Carvajal again. That season by Karim Benzema, it completely paints over the cracks the fact he is 35 and you can't get past that. Then Karim Benzema, as much as it was just a majestic season from him last year where he scored so many goals, provided so many assists, played in so many games, he can't keep doing that. You cannot expect Benzema to do that every year on year for the next 3 plus potentially 2 more, waiting for Endrick. You just can't. That's stupid management, and yeah, that's why I believe that's what's going to happen. I believe this board is going to wait for Endrick to come, and I don't believe Endrick will come good in the first season, because if you expect that to happen, you expect Endrick to be as good as Neymar. You expect Endrick to be as good as Neymar when he comes to Spain initially. That's how good you expect Endrick to be. I really am worried for that, and it's not looking good, because we're obviously heading to Morocco midweek to play Al Ahly, and whatever happens, that happens. But this season, it seems like a write-off, because I know what's going to happen later on today. Later on today, Barcelona are going to play Sevilla, and Sevilla have been horrible so far this season. But I can already tell you what's going to happen in that game. It's going to be a 1-0 Barcelona win, and it's going to be so dull, so boring, yet Barcelona will win. Barcelona will extend the point gaps to 8 points, and from that point, I believe Barcelona are uncatchable. And because I do think that Real Madrid have the ability to go ahead and win most of the games this season, but I don't believe that Barcelona are big enough bottle jobs to go ahead and bottle an 8-point lead. I don't believe that's the case at all, and that's another trophy we've just thrown away. We've just thrown away into thin air. It's gone. And yeah, that's La Liga pretty much solved. If I was to give percentage chances of La Liga winners, I would say 80% Barcelona, 20% Real Madrid at this point. 8-point lead. I don't think you realise how big that is. That requires 3 Barcelona losses without Real Madrid dropping points in that period of time. In that time, we've also got El Clasico, and 2 further El Clasicos in the Copa del Rey. We've already proved so far this season in the Supercopa, where Barcelona absolutely handed our asses back to us, that this season it has potential to be a complete write-off. I don't want it to be that. Yet, by January, it looks like it. It's the case where we've lost the Supercopa. It's gone. The Supercopa's gone. It was a horrible performance from us in the final. At this rate, it looks like we're losing La Liga. The Copa del Rey, we have Barcelona, but it's Real Madrid in the Copa del Rey. I wouldn't get your hopes up too much. And then you have the Champions League. That's all you have. Everything lies on the Champions League for Real Madrid to have a good season now, in my opinion. And let's see what happens. Let's see what happens in the Champions League. And just on the positive, it's been largely a negative video, but we have seen this situation before in years gone by, and Real Madrid have looked at a tough run, and we said, it's not looking good. We're gonna struggle here, and we've won every single game. So, in that case, you can say maybe Real Madrid have a chance. Maybe Real Madrid have a chance to recover this season. Maybe Real Madrid have a chance that maybe this title race isn't over just yet. But the way it's going, the way we've been performing, the way Barcelona have been performing, I'm not getting my hopes up too high, to be totally honest. It was 9 points difference from us last season. Barcelona have overturned 9 points, and I don't believe they should have, because I don't think those transfers this summer, they were that exceptional. I think Lewandowski was exceptional, and I think Christensen was exceptional. But I don't believe that Barcelona have been worthy of a 9-point overhaul plus an extra 8 points lead. They've overturned 17 points, which is unbelievable. So that's it from me in this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.